Good evening, welcome. We're here tonight to do another spotlight. Today's focus is the Politi's Amputees, a team that have come into the league quite late, but are definitely a dominant figure at the moment. Their manager, Tpol.
Hello.
How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm alright, mate. I'm alright. How are you?
Very well, very well. I'm looking to be asking you a few questions today. We're going to be looking at some of the history of your expert career, how you've come into the game, what your experiences have been from then on to this point now, and maybe some current content stuff. Look at how the league's going thus far, how that's reflected on previous seasons that we've gone through, and what that future projections you may have for the upcoming seasons. Is that okay?
Yeah, it all sounds good, mate.
Excellent. So, how did you come to expert?
Well, my mate Jack, aka you, recommended it to me. I mean, you always went on about it, and I was sort of doing another ship, and you just kept going on about it, and then it was like, it did sound interesting, and I finally had a bit of time, sort of, start up a few new hobbies and put my mind to it a little bit, got involved, and it's a fun game, isn't it? I mean, I think everyone, don't need to sell it to anyone. Everyone knows it's good fun. So, just been enjoying learning more about it, about all the different strategies and techniques and tactics to building a squad.
Do you feel there was a plateau maybe from when you first started to now in retrospect seeing a level that certain managers get to that you maybe hit early or quite late, or how did that progression go?
Yeah, there have been several plateaus in terms of my learning, I think. Several periods where you obviously learn a lot really quickly, and you learn one thing which takes you on to something else, and it's like a chain reaction in terms of your learning. But for the most part, I would say my learning has been pretty steady. I feel like I'm at a decent stage now. I mean, it's hard to say that I'm necessarily know that much, but I feel I still know more than most at this point. I still feel like knowledge is only what you do with it. I'm trying to build a competitive team, trying to build a good squad, and trying to build around, staying young, keeping the money coming through, getting good youth, and then trying to always, have the best of both worlds. So, that's what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, you could quite easily be using your knowledge and your interests to go in another direction. So, that answers your question. Yeah,
no, quite understandable.
Blabbed on a bit.
No, it sounds like a very interesting progression, and clearly something you've had a lot of time to reflect upon. Do you feel maybe that there are some key moments in that progression where you can perhaps hark back and think maybe ill or even positive of yourself? Maybe certain key factors and key moments that really dictated how you became the manager you are now? I mean,
I can go to several points where I remember learning something and it really changed my mindset, or I can tell you several real bad errors I made.
Whatever you feel comfortable with. Whatever you feel comfortable with, I think.
Well, I mean, in terms of, when I learned, about...
Whatever that you feel would be more illuminating.
Okay, well, I mean, I can try and answer both questions, I guess. I feel several big factors for me that really helped was when I, really understand the power of form and form training and how to manipulate that along with your games. That was a big sort of thing for me. And then also...
Like a watershed moment.
Yeah, and then also understanding the exact real effects of age alongside DV and form and all that. And
how that all correlates.
Yeah, and also the effects of average age and the effects of having youth play with old and the whole concept of introducing a conveyor belt system. Those are definitely landmark moments to me in terms of my expert progression. In terms of things that I regret, my main decisions are in my official team.
Well, maybe not even moments you regret, but more things that stick out to you where it really reminds you of what you used to be as a manager.
Yeah, well, my official team, originally I was signing 19 4s, 25s, 18 3s, and not really, when I first got into it, I was very much of the mindset, a 3 skill's a 3 skill, a 4 skill's a 4 skill. Age didn't really seem to matter too much, Obviously now I understand there's a massive difference between an 18.6 and a 26, or a 19.7 and a 23.7. Massive difference. But back then, it was all sort of the same. So I got a team full of that, overpaid for most of them, and a few years down the line, and they're shit. So that's my main regret. And then obviously the David Archer incident.
We shan't go into that because we're focusing more on your Lord's exploits.
Amputees and go on. David Archer incident.
Well,
doesn't sound like
All right, let's not bang on about it, mate. So, getting an understanding from where you were to where you are now, what do you think sticks out to you in your mind as you're going into each expert game in Lords? That will always be true to every game you play. What is intrinsic to your team?
As I said, it's that blend of being competitive and developing. So every game, there's going to be youths out there. There's going to be guys out there getting experience, playing against some strong competition, playing alongside some very, talented players, and hopefully, continuing to develop and help contribute to the club. But at the same time, we're always hopefully going to be a team to be feared. I don't ever want us. I say I've made it clear. I don't ever want us to be a squire. I don't ever want us to be a team that other people, take lightly. I want us to be a tough match for everyone every single game. That's essentially what I'm trying to achieve.
Well, touching upon that point, do you think maybe you've dropped that fear factor that many have associated with you in the past? I know, for example, that some people have been knocking you in the league as of late, Laszlo Baines being mainly the first one to berate your campaign this year.
Yeah. Well, obviously that was before I beat him 3-0. But, no... my team, basically, I started the league and my team just got progressively stronger and stronger and stronger every season, to the point where I did have a very strong team. I had like 2 players in my squad that were below a 10 skill, with several there with 11s and 12s. I was a very strong team, but I was also an old team, and I knew the risks of what that would entail. I knew that it would be a mistake to just continue trying to get stronger. But really, the guys that I had didn't have that much left in them, and they were more at a stage where they were sort of ripe to be sold. So, I think it was the right decision, and I think I've proven in retrospect that it definitely was the right decision, because 4 wins out of 4, obviously a disappointing cup result last game, but 4 wins out of 4 in the league. So despite sort of gutting my team a little bit, so I think results speak for themselves, mate.
Yes, it is true that you and a certain other team are bossing it at the moment. Let's bear in mind, though, that these cunts are a more decorated team than you. Yeah. But aside from that, these 4 wins that you've taken on thus far, do you think these have been easy games? Have they been tough games? Have they been fortunate in your timings of form prior to the start of the season?
My form was excellent. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. My form was really good, and as I said, I despite what everyone was saying, I knew I had a competitive team, and I'm no dummy when it comes to tactics. I don't always get it perfect, but I'm not an idiot. So
I always. Sorry. This reporter heard it from the Berker-Merkish manager that he always felt that your approach to each game was almost like a tactical learning opportunity. It was a chance. Yeah. It was a chance for you to kind of try out things and yet still kind of learn from other managers and what they're doing. So it's still maybe a target for you. That's what he said.
Well, I think you're naive if you don't feel like you can't learn from any given match. Every match you can learn from. You can try things out, and especially every competitive match, every league and cup match, where people are trying to win or trying to get results or trying to get DV, trying to do something.
A thought process has behind
exactly. That. Exactly. So you're going to learn. You're going to see what other people are doing, and whether you learn from them, from their victories or their mistakes, or just learning their sort of tendencies as a manager. It's always a learning experience. So,
well, let's take this interview now more into the managership role. Who in the league, as you're the manager of the Politis, Amputees, a prominent figure, how would you view other teams in this league? Are you at the position where this league is a competitive one? Is there a mixed balance of strength and know-how?
I think it is competitive. It's not as competitive as it was last year. I think a lot of people have sort of used up their squads a little bit, and it's just for whatever reason it's not as competitive as it was last year. But at the same time, it's still a high-level league, and there isn't, you know, I mean, I lost to Bilbao 3-0, you know.
We'll touch upon more of that.
You know, but I'm saying, you know, team bottom of the league, you know, even teams, you know, Bear Braps I think are down at the moment. You know, you can't take Tristan for granted. You know, it is still tough in that respect, but I just don't think it is quite as fierce as it was last year.
Okay, interesting. I said interesting.
Oh, yeah. Asked me about my cup.
Yes, I was. Thank you. How do you feel the club is going to bounce back from this 3-0 loss? Admittedly away, but still a loss to bottom of the league.
It's a weird one because, I mean, obviously losing, like, I didn't really... I played all my youth and I didn't really anticipate necessarily winning the game. I kind of thought the draw was on the cards. I thought, you know, there's a chance I'd lose. I think I underestimated how strong he'd be if he played 5 in midfield, and I didn't really think he would. So I think that sort of fucked me. But for the main part, I think the team will bounce back. I mean, we're going to have to. I mean, our form isn't great right now, but if I can make sure my tactics against Pete are really solid, hopefully get some good results there, and then I've got a whole batch of training. Pretty much every player in my squad goes through training, you know, the night.
The schedule set.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll get a good 3 days of positive form tendency before Friday's game. And then, you know, I'll play Alex again. I'll beat him if I need to. On Friday, definitely. Well, no, on Friday I will beat him. And then on Sunday, I'm not sure how I'm going to play it. I'm not sure how desperate I am to stay in the cup. I do feel in my heart of hearts if I wanted a 4-0 win, I could possibly go and get it at home. But for the most part, I think I'm just going to use it as one more opportunity to get a load of DV in, and hopefully, you know, use it, you know, go out in with grace and focus on the league. Really, that's my goal. So,
a nice goal.
Yeah, you know, and to be honest, when I say focus on the league, my attitude very much is I will see where things are following the double with said Burke and Murkage, and depending on how things stand at that point, we'll decide if I choose to make a serious run at it or whether I do focus solely on DV. I mean, at the moment, 4 wins out of 4 is nice, but DV has always got to be the priority.
A nice attitude to have.
Yeah.
To straight away, only briefly from the Politi Amputees, you mentioned there a team called the Burke and Murkage. Could you give us just a little tidbit onto the relationship you've had with this team? Has it been tumultuous? Has it been anxious? What kind of feelings are we bringing up here? How do you view that team?
I mean, to be honest, we don't really care about them. I mean, they won a few titles, done whatever, but, you know, we're focusing on us, and that's how we've always been at this club.
Well, could you not give us an insight into maybe a bit of the banter you've had?
Well, no, everyone knows what Jack's like. You know, he likes to give it all a bit of lip, and fair enough to him. You know, he's got the credentials behind him, I guess, to do so, and he's got the fucking midfield. And if I had that midfield, I'd be chatting up a storm as well. So, you know, fair enough to the lad. But said for the most part, I think it'll be interesting when we get to play them. They've generally had our number in games past, but you know, every game's a new game, every season's a new season, and
word through the grapevine is that you are the favourite opponent of the Burke and Murkage, and so he relishes every opportunity to play you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just numbers though, isn't it, mate? It's just numbers, and yeah, every game's a new game, mate. That's what I'm saying.
Excellent.
Favourite opponent, nightmare opponent, don't give a shit. Just gotta get a team out there.
Well, to bring this interview to a close, I'd like to again go back to the Politi Amputees and ask you to just reveal to us what is going to happen to this team in 5 or 6 seasons if all goes to plan. Will we be looking at a fearsome team, something that you can truly invest your emotions in as a supporter? I
mean, I really hope in the next 5 seasons we won a league title. I mean, it'd be pretty depressing to think, because by that point we'll have been in for over 10 seasons, you know, to not win any. I mean, obviously winning the cup last year was nice, but you know, the league is what it's about, and especially now there's that prestige of winning the Lords. Definitely want that. I mean, at the same time, in terms of personnel, I mean, probably the few youth, the players 21 and under that I currently have will probably still be about, but for the most part, I think I predict an entirely new squad, and but hopefully still a competitive squad. Hopefully those young guys now will be, you know, the Paolo Giuliano, the what's his name? Bruno Pastore. They will be, you know, the Devin Loftus. They will be Mama Melgar. They will be Cesar Barros. They will be Adelpho Ortega. So, and then, you know, we'll have new youngsters coming through, but, you know, we'll still be competitive. So that's why I see us in 5 years. 5 years, 5 seasons. 5 years, mate. God knows.
And to finalise, could you give us 3 words that resonate within you about your team?
DV, form, wins.
Thank you.